Good morning, collective. Today I'm doing the full moon in True Sky Scorpio reading. So the first deck that I'm starting with is the Sacred Circle Tarot. And this I've been using for the solar transit through the sign of True Sky Taurus. And on the bottom of the deck we have Solace. Six of Swords. So this could be a time of significant change for you, change for the better, and especially on a mental level. The swords always represent mental challenges, and the six indicates that you've been through hard times and that you're moving on to a safer passage at the moment, at this point in your journey. So the first card we have today is also a swords suit. It is the Two of Swords, the card of opposition. So this time could involve some serious decision making, a lot of mental, to and fro kind of energy. It could involve a frustrating situation. However, the advice is to just sit back and wait for things to smooth over. So if you are in a tricky situation, be aware that this does indicate here with the Four of Discs that there could be some struggles with resources. So it is the card of materialism, which is a more negative form of like possessions and acquisitiveness, and that sense of greed or being too attached to physical possessions. So there could be some of that energy coming in. People attaching too much meaning to physical resources, defining their own personal worth by them. And it tends to be very restrictive with this energy, so it can create like blockages, even creative blockages, because there's a lack of flow involved here. So it's a good time to reevaluate where you may be blocking the flow in your life, and to try and look beyond the material. The other card that we have linked here with our Two of Swords is the Ten of Wands, which is the card of force. So the Ten of Wands is about having worked really hard to achieve something significant in your life. However, you're not seeing much results from this, like positive results, or you're not getting much back from this work. So then we've also got the Page of Cups here as well. So this is a potential love offer, the Page of Cups. So it's a time of great perception and awareness, a time of spiritual development and understanding. The salmon there in the picture represents wisdom and its potential indecision that could be holding you back at the moment and making you frustrated and angry with yourself. So that is interesting because we have this opposition card which can represent indecision. So there could be some indecision that is negatively. So on a personal level, this card can talk about hurt in the past that's damaged your self-esteem and your self-confidence. So this could also be tied in with the materialism aspect here, because that's also can be linked in with self-worth. If you're very materialistic, can replace your self-worth with your material things. This is a time where you are learning to value yourself again and begin to feel capable of loving once more. By recognizing your own value, then true love can be established with one another. So if you are looking to another to supply what is lacking in yourself, rather than treating the other as a separate person, the relationship will fail. So this card can signify new relationships or a new level in an existing relationship. Spiritually, it's a great time for passive meditation. This hurt has left its scars. You need to learn to be at peace with yourself. So it's not a time to join groups or perform rituals. If this is a person in your life, often they are a young, intense person with a carefully controlled exterior, but they mask a volcano of emotions within. It's difficult to know them. They don't let their feelings show and are very suspicious of other people's motives. They don't like anyone getting too close. And they don't forget kindness or injuries and will reward or punish accordingly with ruthless determination. So they often are very philosophical, interested in religion and fundamental questions of life and death, have their own views but influenced by none. They do take care in their own thoughts. They're not bothered about what other people think of them. However, if you ask for their opinion, they will be brutally honest and potentially could hurt your feelings because they're not caring about these things. So that is our central card for today. So maybe this could be an aspect in your own life or someone in your life at the moment with this full moon. So the next card we have is the card of intellect. We have the Ace of Swords. So this card is all about new intellectual beginnings. So it has a sort of truth quality to it. There might be some kind of message that you receive at this time that has a very striking, resonance to it, a very truthful message. So it can cut away dead wood and living flesh. So it's a neutral card. It's not really a good or ill. Its effect, and that it represents new ideas. There can be adversity due to creative ideas that arise at this time, and that potential disagreements can be forged. So if this is what you're experiencing, it says you have the power to acquire knowledge and shape your world with your intellect at this time. So that is linked here with our Page of Cups also. And then we have our next card here is the Nine of Cups, which is the card of stability. It's actually a really positive card. So any negative effect from surrounding cards, maybe not the materialism, that's not connected, but from our Page of Cups and also from our Ace of Swords here, it's not that it would be totally taken away. It's more just that it would be kind of muted, if that makes sense. So it wouldn't be as strong if there is, negative maybe thinking or conflicts, or like it said with the Page of Cups, someone with brutal honesty. So it is the Wish card and heralds the fulfillment of a dream. Shows that you have that difficulties have been overcome and that your efforts and steady commitments will be rewarded. This is a time of emotional and material stability, good health, great happiness. Spiritually, it's a time when you can assimilate what you've learnt. However, you must work on balancing the elements within yourself to create a firm foundation of knowledge and strength before you progress further. And then we also have our only major arcana card today here in this first deck is Sacrifice, which is our Hanged Man card, also linked with this stability. So there's some kind of sacrifice that is needed at this time. Some letting go is happening in your life. I don't think it's on a material level. Because of the cards connected are mostly water, there is a fire as well with the Ace of Wands. So it's very much linked to the cycles of life, and that it's about, the control and loss of control that we have over our experiences, and that often we need to relax and let go and let events take their course. So, depending on what is happening here. Also, we have the Ace of Wands connected with the Sacrifice as well, and this is to do with new passions. However, the next card we have is also a wand card, and it is the card of success, the Six of Wands. So this is a card of external success. It's often indicates that you have been working really hard, and that you are actually starting to see some of the results of your hard work appearing, and others are seeing it too. It's not just it's on an external level, and people are even celebrating your achievements. There could be that you may have gained some kind of qualification, or promotion at work, or you've won something. There is that kind of success victory element here, and that it does also link to domestic harmony and stability. So then we have the Ace of Wands next to it. So from this victory, from this achievement, you've also got now these new passions developing, and this is the card of creativity. So it's a raw burst of raw energy. It's got a very, I'd say it's more positive actually than neutral, and I definitely wouldn't say it's negative energy with the Ace of Wands. It does stimulate a new cycle of creative energy and inspiration, and that it's specifically good for artists, writers, and musicians. There's also a feeling of restlessness and dissatisfaction with things as they are. You have the feeling that better things are possible, though you're not quite sure what they are. You're impelled to pursue them. Trust your vision, whatever silly idea you have, because your life is opening up. So creativity can manifest as works of art, writing, and music, founding of a business, or even a family at this time. And then that is linked here with our Page of Cups, which could be a new love offer coming in. So that could be really significant. There could be a new passionate love offer coming in around this full moon in Scorpio with the Taurus sun. The next cards I'm going to pull from are the Green Witch Tarot, and on the bottom of the deck we have our Six of Wands again, which we did have here at the bottom of our reading. So that energy is, doubled with that one. So there's definitely a successful energy here. So for the Two of Swords, to clarify, we have the Lady and the Lord, which is like our traditional lovers card. So it does indicate a potential new partner or lover, and also a choice. So it's often a choice of different paths. So it can be more than one individual, and that both options lead to very different outcomes, and you need to choose wisely, especially with this Two of Swords, which was all about, being decisive with your decision making and really putting your mental abilities into what needs your attention. So, figuring out what you want to do with your time and pursuing that rather than wasting it on things you don't want to be doing. Then we have here for the Four of Discs, the materialism. We have the Witch, which is equivalent to the Magician card. So it does have the element of manifesting and manifestations involved here. So maybe you need more material things in your life and you're trying to manifest more. So you could look into like the rules around these things, especially on a spiritual level and things like that. Like I was saying before about grasping too tightly to things, and that actually doesn't attract more in. So you could be working on that at this time, or maybe you're even working on manifesting your inner worth. So that could be something that you are working on as well at this time, or could be something really good to be working on actually. Manifesting your inner worth so that your outer worth, no matter what happens, doesn't affect, how you're feeling about yourself. So it's a very spiritual path. For the Ace of Swords, we have the Five of Pentacles confirming, which is very interesting because the Five of Pentacles also has, a very, it's even worse than the Four. It's kind of like what happens when the Four isn't, dealt with positively, I guess you could say. Even though it's one more than the Four, it definitely has the energy of like poverty and needing help from your community and your outside world. It's the woman here in the picture, she's very poor, and counting her, looking in her empty bag. Actually, there's all these pentacles in the tree, however, and there's this nice warm place she could be in, but she's sitting on this cold bench, and it's quite strange. It does have that energy of maybe not reaching out to your communities. So if that's something that you can do, especially with these ideas with the Ace of Swords, because, together, many hands make light work. It has that energy of, it's not just, we're not an island, we need our community to help us through hard times and vice versa. So, and that's for the Ace of Swords, which is all about the intellect and new ideas. There could even be someone that you are working with at this time with ideas. Then for the Ten of Wands, we have the Ten of Pentacles. So even though you've had all this hard work and not much reward, there are rewards coming. So the Ten of Pentacles is like ultimate satisfaction and fulfillment of material needs. So like all his, if you can see in the picture here, all his needs are met. In fact, there's generational wealth here. We have the grandfather, we have the parents, we have the grandchild. He has his money like proudly displayed behind him. They're in a lovely garden. It has that, generational wealth energy to it. So that is a really positive outcome for this Ten of Wands right now. Then for the Page of Cups, which was a potential love offer, we have the Six of Chalices, which is a very sentimental card. It very much has it can have a past life, or past life is in maybe your childhood, energy to it. So there could be someone maybe from your past or a past life that this love offer could be connected to at this time. And there could be some real reminiscence about maybe a past time or a past place or that kind of energy. For our Nine of Cups stability, we have the Wild Hunt. So this is traditionally our Tower card. So there is some change, significant change with this stability here. It could seem really negative. Obviously, a change to stability does sound very negative. However, there will be a new beginning that comes from this. So it can be like a clearing where some things that need to be let go of will be for a new beginning to begin. And then here for our Six of Wands, we have the King of Wands. So we have another figure here, and this was for our success card. We have our King of Wands. So this is a masculine, older masculine leader who could be of the fire signs at this time, a very passionate masculine who is a leader in whatever it is that they do. I can't tell you exactly what they do, but it could be many different things, but they are involved in this success that you will experience or are experiencing. And then for the creativity, the Ace of Wands, we have the Green Man. So this is linked to our Fool card in this deck, and it does signify a new beginning, an absolute new cycle. So these ideas are very new. It's not like something you've been working on, or if it is, it could be like you branching out in a new direction from an old project or something like that. And then for our Sacrifice card, we have the Ten of Chalices, which is emotional fulfillment and satisfaction on all levels. You know, you really don't need any more. So this card of Sacrifice was about letting go, similar to the Tower card is like significant change. The Sacrifice is about letting go. However, the Ten of Chalices is saying that when you do let go and when that process happens, there will be much more than you need available. So it's a real emotional satisfaction. So it doesn't have to be, you know, the financial, we did get that as well. We did get the Ten of Pentacles. But yeah, the chalices is more the emotions. The next cards I'm going to pull from are the Earth Magic Oracle. And on the bottom of the deck, we have Lotus Flower Unfoldment, which I think is very significant for this new moon, full moon in Scorpio, because we do have, the Scorpio is often linked with the lotus in the sense that it, you know, comes from these dark murky waters. It's a water plant, and then it, you know, it flowers into this kind of like enlightening, amazing scented flower, which also could be linked in with the Taurus, you know, that there is that energy there of both the earth and the water. However, our first card today is actually Dawn, New Beginnings. So this is for the Four of Discs Materialism card, our Witch, Manifestor, and then New Beginnings. So this is a new beginning here with this manifesting of this, you know, materialism, which, like we were talking about earlier, if you are working on this, it could even be that you're working on your inner value, your inner worth. It doesn't have to be the external. In fact, that's a really good place to start. If you don't already have that, if you have the inner worth, then you can start to work on the other. And then we have our central card is Gaia, nurturing, which is beautiful. I mean, that really to me is bringing out that Taurian energy. Yeah, obviously Mother Earth. So, and then we have the Page of Cups, the reflection, and then the Six of Chalices, which is very watery energy. These two cards both being cup chalice cards, so very much this Scorpio full moon energy, and then with the Taurus on the top. So this potential love offer with this past reminiscent energy is going to be very nurturing for you at this time. So that actually could really help with your self-worth. I'm not saying get your self-worth from it, as in, because you can't really get self-worth from others. You need to work on that yourself, and then you can really share a proper relationship or loving bond with someone when you have that. So the last one we have is Fog, Veiled. So there's something hidden here. So we've got this creativity with the Ace of Wands, this new beginning with the Green Man, new cycle, and then we have this fog, so it's veiled. So you might not really understand it yet. You know, there's some unknowable factor here. The next cards I'm going to pull from are the Green Witch Oracle. And on the bottom of the deck we have Butterfly, Transformation, Joy, Beauty, and Transience, which I think it does make me think of the Geminian. So we do have a bit of Geminian energy at the moment. We have not just Venus in Gemini, which very much makes me think of the butterfly, but we also have Jupiter still in Gemini. I know some people are saying that it's now moved into Cancer, especially on the full moon. But with the true sky, if you actually look at it, it doesn't actually move. Jupiter doesn't move into Cancer until later next month. So it is a different system. The first card we have, and this is to clarify the new beginnings, Dawn, we have Moth. Mystery, concealment, and illusion. So there is some of that going on. We've had that kind of doubled, because at the bottom we had that veiled illusion with the new beginning of the Fool, and then now we're having illusion, concealment, mystery with the new dawn beginning. This was to clarify. Yes, this is to do with this manifesting and self-worth and materialism aspect. Then we have our central card we have is Oak Tree, Power, Courage, and Strength, which is lovely to have with Gaia, nurturing. So by nurturing, we do gain power, courage, and strength, definitely. The nurturing forces are actually very powerful. And then we have Mushroom, recycling, breaking down problems. And this is with the veiled fog. So potentially this veiling, this fog, is actually helping in this process of breaking down problems and recycling. Because you don't really know exactly what's going on, things are happening, you know, behind the scenes to help you. The next cards I'm going to pull from are the Nature Speak Oracle, and on the bottom of the deck we have Fertile New Role, and then we have our first card is Healing and Balance, Beach. So mystery, concealment, illusion. So there is some mystery, concealment, illusion linked with this healing and balance. Maybe I mean, we had that a little bit with the last card as well. There's some protective force here that is concealing something, but it's for your own benefit. So you can heal and be, you know, more balanced. and have this new beginning. Manifest this materialism. I don't mean the materialism in a negative sense either. I mean it in the positive. So our central card we got is Garden. Time for nurturing. And we had nurturing with Gaia. So time for nurturing gives power, courage, and strength. And nurturing is linked to this past relationship or this past life energy that, you know, could be this new love offer coming in, or it could be a past person. It could even be a child. We do have children here a few times. Not only is the Page of Cups linked with children, and then we have the 2 children here. So it could even be like 3 children here. And the nurturing of them is really significant at this time. You know, for them to be stronger. So it's the time. So now the last card we have is Forest. Awaken your magic. And wow, with the mushroom, recycling, breaking down problems. I mean, this is what happens, isn't it, in the forest? It's such a beautiful part of the forest energy, you know, the mushrooms breaking down all the old and creating new energy for, you know, the other living plants, and also animals and creatures, and, you know, the whole system, the ecosystem. It's beautiful. Veiled. You somehow, I mean, even the fact that fog is very nurturing. I know myself, I actually really love the foggy weather. We do get a bit of it here. You know, probably not as much as some countries, but it's comforting to me. I don't know, there's something about it. Obviously, it's not that easy to, say, drive in, you know, when you've got to see a far distance or something like that. But I do find it quite comforting as well. So there might be some of that comforting energy there with this new beginning and this creative cycle that you're in. The last cards I'm going to pull from are the Australian Bushflower cards. And on the bottom of the deck, we have Strength, Rosella flower. And we have Sundew, Swamp Lily, and Bottle Brush today. So, Sundew, Focus. This one really reminds me of my childhood. I used to see sundews a lot as a child. They were in my backyard, and then also the properties around us, and even in the bush nearby. I always really liked the look of them. So your attention is being called to focus on a particular area of your life. There is good energy around, and you should be optimistic. You should get what it is you are seeking. A celebration, especially surrounding something you've desired and worked hard towards, should be on the horizon soon. This flower answers a firm yes to anything you are questioning. You should be extra alert right now and double check everything. As a challenge, Sundew is warning you not to become lazy or haphazard, or you will lose something important to you. As a healer, Sundew assists willpower issues and mental activities. Wow, so willpower, which is very much what the witch, you know, energy is about. You know, focusing the will with the wand. But it's definitely got a manifestation energy with the Four of Discs too. New beginning. Healing and balance and focus. So focus on your healing and balance. So the next card we have is Swamp Lily energy. So endurance, revived feelings, rejuvenated outlook, The swamp lily indicates a new lust for life. There is a need for you to focus right now on your needs, or you could be in danger of getting twisted up in feelings of regret and drudgery. New experiences to infuse your family and close relationships with a stronger commitment and a feeling of belonging are suggested. Energy means action, so look at what action you need to create the reaction you desire. As a challenge, Swamp Lily warns of exhaustion, of putting too much energy in one place, and of being overburdened with responsibilities. As a healer, Swamp Lily is perfect for those seeking pregnancy or going through any physical or life change which has depleted energy. Interesting, it does talk about pregnancy, and I was talking about the children connection earlier, and all this nurturing energy here, time for nurturing, yeah, and all the children. Yeah, so that's beautiful. Next one we have is, the last one actually, is bottle brush cleansing. So maybe bottle brush might be one that you're familiar with. I'm not sure, but there are many, many varieties of bottle brush. Bottle brush energy is cleansing and balancing. Its appearance means a time of clearing away what no longer serves you. If it is not happening organically, then it is time for you to make it happen, as it will most definitely improve any situation at present. Bottle brush can indicate pregnancy, issues surrounding pregnancy, and also any entity that you are personally incubating and growing. The challenges of bottle brush are an inability to move on, limitations to growth, and difficult transitions. As a healer, bottle brush is wonderful as a negative energy cleanser and clearer. It supports during times of emotional upheaval, bringing calmness and comfort and an ability to cope. It is recommended for life transitions. So that's really interesting. So awaken your magic with the cleansing. And even the mushroom has, it's recycling, breaking down problems, but it has a cleansing element as well. I mean, the mushrooms can even break down like oil spills and things like that. And then this new cycle, this new ideas, passionate ideas. So that is your reading with the cards today. I did want to talk about the actual full moon chart. So for where I am, I've pulled up a chart, and interestingly, at least for where I am, I'm not sure where you are, so you would need to cast one for when the moon is at its peak where you are and how that chart would manifest. So for us here, it's a Sagittarius rising in True Sky chart. So it has some fiery energy, which we did have come up in this reading. In the initial reading, we had the Ace of Wands, we had the Six of Wands, we had the Ten of Wands. So there was a bit of fire. And yeah, we do have Mars in Aries, so that is also fiery too. And also the South Node in Leo. So there is a bit of fire energy there. And also the moon, full moon in this chart is in the 12th house, which I do find interesting considering the reading had not only the fog card, the veiled fog card, but also the moth, which was about mystery, concealment, and illusion. So the 12th house it's Pisces house, so it's very mysterious, and there's always unknowable factors. And so it is a full moon in Scorpio, but yeah, it's in the 12th house, which is actually quite a nice house for the moon, considering the moon in Scorpio is debilitated. It's not a great sign for the moon. And it's conjoining Antares, and Antares is such a powerful point. Some say linked with, you know, the Archangel Uriel, the one with the flaming sword who guards the, is it the Garden of Eden? Or yeah, so he's got the flaming sword, and then the sun being conjoined with Aldebaran, who I believe is he Raphael? It's actually Michael, sorry. Regulus is Raphael. So that is really interesting. It's Michael Aldebaran. Anyway, that's if you're into, and former Holtz, Gabriel, that's if you're into angels and things. But yeah, it's really significant stars that this full moon is conjoined with for this full moon and sun, solar. We do have the sun is trining the Pluto at the moment, which is also very much linked with like very transformative energies. So there's a very and we did have the Tower card come up too, which is quite significant. Uranus is a little bit distant from it because it conjoined, you know, a week or so ago, so it's not really relevant. It's in the same sign though, and the sun is loosely trining Neptune as sextiling Neptune, and more closely sextiling Saturn. So there is a Saturnian energy here, which is interesting about the materialism card and getting our self-worth from things that aren't material, because I think that's a trap that all the earth signs can potentially find themselves in. And however, Saturn in Pisces energy is quite it's more about spiritual resources, so because Pisces is not that material sign. So, and the fact that Saturn has now moved into like the ending, it's right near the end of, not right in the true sky, it's not right near the end. The true sky Pisces is a lot bigger than the other astrology. So it's actually only about halfway in the true sky. And even Chiron is not yet in Aries in the true sky. So it's quite different when you look at the different charts together. And yeah, Mercury's on the cusp. And Jupiter is still in Gemini for quite some time, which is ruling this chart because the ascendant being Sag. So that Gemini energy, which I did pick up on a little bit in this reading too. I mean, there was quite a few swords cards and things like that that came up. Yeah, I hope you have a fantastic new moon period. It's often like the day before and even the day after that the energies are the strongest. So if you've made it this far and you got anything out of this reading, if it resonated in any way, if you could like it or subscribe if you haven't already, or comment, that would be great. And if you already have, thank you so much. And I will be back again with another reading soon. So take care of yourselves and look after yourselves. There was a lot of this nurturing, beautiful nurturing energy here, which I do think is a really nice way to spend this full moon. You know, you've got that Taurus and the Scorpio, and I do think nurturing is a really nice way to use that energy, you know, balance those energies. Okay, all right, thank you, bye.